everybody. I'm back. This is Stacy Rossetti, and I'm here with the RentRedi pod. This is basically a podcast where we interview badass women investors and just get to know them and their story, how they got started. And it's hosted by RentRedi, and I'm just basically here to kind of get the conversation going and introduce yet another badass woman investor, and her name is Veronica Woods, and she is out of Philadelphia. She invests in single family homes and in small multifamily. And I'm here. Here to get to know her and get to know her story. So introduce yourself to us, Veronica.
Well, thank you for having me. I like the term being amongst badass women. So I embrace it. So my story in real estate started working for my dad. My dad is a real estate broker. And so I really been around real estate all my life. When I was 15, I helped him do data entry of rent checks and expenses. So I grew up around it. It was something I admired people who did it, but I didn't necessarily think I would have a career in it. So I'm an investor and I am a real estate professional. So I help other women and other people reach their real estate goals.
Okay, cool. So you have been investing in residential and small multifamily. Kind of dig into that a little bit and tell us what you do. What do you invest in?
Okay. Well, I have house hacked in a duplex. And
what's that?
So right now I own a duplex where I live in one unit and I have a renter helping me pay the mortgage. So that's been pretty successful. It's my first house hack. And I've bought single family properties. And my first investment, I should start there, was I lived in the property and then I moved and kept it. But that was always kind of my plan to start real estate investing. But that's a really easy way to kind of build up assets okay, instead of selling it. Now, granted, it was partially market driven. It's like, all right, I'm not giving away that kind of equity. Let me rent it out. And then I just started acquiring, slowly. So I'm still kind of relatively have a small personal portfolio, but I've experimented with buying properties myself, as well as buying properties with a business partner. So I have.
Okay, awesome. Cool. So, so you're primarily in Philadelphia. Are you doing are you buying and holding in that area? Are you flipping, or what's your strategies that you're really into?
I am primarily buy and hold investor. I want to accumulate assets. That's something part of what I valued growing up. So my goal is to build up to buying a couple properties a year.
All right. So can you just kind of go into more deeply about your relationship with your father, and then how you guys work together in your investments and things like this, or what you learned from him?
Okay. Well, I should say straight off that it actually has been a really good experience being able to learn about real estate from him. Because, a lot of times, you see what your parents may do for a living and you barely have an interest in it. And from working side by side with him in the brokerage company, I really kind of have a better appreciation of what he has accomplished. And a lot of it was working with investors. So he really built his career and reputation around working with investors in the Philadelphia area. And cool. He just kind of gave me an opportunity to join the business when I was, doing some small business consulting work. And it was going okay, but I kind of wanted something bigger, or, I just wasn't as passionate about it. And once I did a small business consulting, a couple of consulting gigs for real estate related companies, I realized the industry, that was really my passion. And so he just kind of threw out an olive branch of, I know you want to invest in real estate, but maybe you can also make money by helping other people reach their financial goals to real estate. And the rest of this history has been about 4 years now, or almost 5 years. With COVID, you blink and you feel like you miss a year, but about 5 years I've been doing this full time.
Awesome. So Like in terms of your investments, can you get into, especially with buy and hold, since a lot of people here when they're listening, they're just like, okay, no, like what's a buy and hold? And like, what, how do I get into that? And how do I even analyze deals or know whether or not a buy and hold is a good deal? So you're kind of going to get into your strategy and your mentality of what you look for in properties that you invest in.
Okay. Well, I should preface it. I have a financial background. I actually have an MBA in finance. So I definitely come to it from, you shouldn't ask that question first. The first question you should ask is, what are your financial goals? Are you looking for a new stream of income? Are you looking for injection of cash? How much cash do you have? What's your time frame horizon? Okay. Once you've answered that question for yourself, like for me, it was important to try to replace the 6-figure income I had when I was in corporate America. So I needed to build a portfolio of rental properties. So that's why buy and hold was a natural thing for me, is because that's what I wanted to do. And I had seen some people be successful in that. And I would say my strategy right now is to be really focused geographically first. Mm-hmm. And because I think when you look too far apart in too many different markets, especially when you're beginning, you don't know enough to even identify a good deal. Everything looks good. And it's just being able to compare markets and opportunities are even difficult. Mm-hmm. I do say, I am a real estate professional, so I am in the MLS all day, every day. And, for me, a $200 a month cash flow, that's a good deal for me. So when I'm looking at opportunities in particular neighborhoods, most of my investments or all my investments are kind of like more the working class, lower middle class neighborhoods. In my area, that's anywhere from a 1-bedroom could be, 700-800, or a 3-bedroom could be up to 1,500, 1,600. Got it. So that's kind of the price point. And there's such a demand for that in terms of there's just not enough decent rental homes for people in my area. And that's what I kind of tell my clients too. I'm looking at, I know when I put up I get a house in a certain area, how many calls I get to manage that, or people looking for an apartment. Let's just say I do property management too. So I manage my own properties, and I manage properties for other people. Mm-hmm. And I'm always running the numbers first. So it's not like I don't spend a lot of time just driving around the neighborhoods. One, with focus, I know which neighborhoods are the best ones, but I'm really dialed into, if I see an opportunity come up in a certain neighborhood, I have a couple of calculators that I run the numbers through. If it makes sense, either for me or one of my clients, I'm like, let's do this. Let's look and see if we can put an offer in. Okay, cool. Yeah. No, I think that there's not enough affordable housing out there. There's especially there's either super expensive apartments or dumpy ones, but there's nothing hardly in the middle anymore. You know what I'm saying? So no, I totally get that. Yeah. And then, if you could do, the other part is pulling together a team of contractors to help you. So that's something I'm still kind of building and testing and working different relationships with contractors to be able to provide not the dump, right? I don't want to be the dumpy slumlord. I want to provide a decent place for people to live. And partnering with the contractors and learning those relationships is also important. Have you done a lot of rehabs or, renovations on any homes? Yeah, the last property I bought for business partner, we had to, now I would say I focus on what I would call either cosmetic and maybe minor repairs, maybe you got to replace the heater. I've kind of shied away from the gut rehabs because I don't have the team to do it. So I think that's important for people to assess. You can have the money, but if you don't have the team to execute, it could cost you more money. And so even, I try to stay in my lane. I know there's certain things where well, maybe I would do that project, but I would need to partner with somebody who had more experience doing major gut rehabs.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, it's hard right now with the renovations. If you're not like already in it and you're trying to build your team up, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work right now, because they're all busy.
Right. You got kissing frogs to be like, okay, never again.
Yes, exactly. Now since you're a realtor and you've been working with investors, like obviously the investors that you work with, they don't have their, their license, their real estate license. So you're the one that kind of provides that for them. Like, do you recommend for investors to get their real estate license? Yes or no? Like, what's your opinion on that? Because I get that question all the time.
I do too. And my answer is no, I don't, unless you want to, like, there's a difference in helping other people reach their financial goals versus helping yourself. Not that there's anything wrong with just being focused on yourself, but the license, hanging your license and all the different affiliations and fees aren't really worth the time and energy to kind of keep up if you're only doing it for yourself. Mm-hmm. And if it's just, I don't even think it's before, maybe it was access to information, but now there's Property Radar and there are lots of services that, that I still subscribe to having the MLS because sometimes there's more deeper kind of history information on those sites than even the MLS. So if you want to get a license just to be able to get the lockbox code, I mean, it just doesn't really, yourself, it doesn't seem to be a value added activity.
I agree. And I'm so glad that you said that, because this is what I say as well, too, is that, there's so mmany softwares out there now that can provide you exactly the same information that a realtor gets. And a lot of realtors, they'll just, they'll partner with these softwares, and then you can just, you can get all that information. So, yeah, so I agree. Like, unless you want to get referral fees, like if you're like maybe a wholesaler or something like that, and you want to get referral fees, or, you're going to, or you really want to help people, like you said, find properties or whatever, then there's no reason to get a real estate license. Mm-hmm. Now, I just saw, and I know you probably haven't seen this, but I just saw that in the state of Oklahoma, they just passed the law that if you want to wholesale, you have to have your real estate license, which I do think a lot of states are going to start doing as well, too, is like if you do want to wholesale, which is essentially buying and selling properties, which is, representing the owners, then they're going to require you to get a license, which I thought was really interesting. So wholesaling you might have to in some states. If you're listening, in some states, if you want to wholesale, you might have to get your real estate license.
Well, Pennsylvania actually is, well, not the whole state, but Philadelphia, they passed the law. I don't know if it's effective or not. They're not making wholesalers get a full real estate sales license, but they're creating some other credential. I don't know what the requirements are, but they want to track people. So the whole thing of if you're a licensee, like I have a higher ethical standards working with people. And so they want, because there's especially some families, really getting taken advantage of here in Philadelphia. We have a lot of older properties and older vacant properties, and that the city just feels like they have to kind of step in because, it's kind of gotten a little crazy. And that's my perspective as a licensee. So I'm a little biased that, that's what a broker is. Bringing a buyer and seller together is, kind of the definition. So, yeah,
I saw a list of the states, and I do remember that Philadelphia was on that. That city was there, and I saw Atlanta because I'm in Atlanta, and also Georgia is considering this as well too. And it's not like a full blown real estate license; it's just like a license to be able to broker a property or something like that. And I heard it's not too hard to get it, but you do have to get it. Right. So I think that's very interesting. And I think that's going to kind of change the game a little bit, because people are going to have to go and actually sign up for the wholesaling.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think, like you said, it's not a high hurdle to get over, but I do think the city or the state needs to do a little bit more monitoring because, there's good and bad apples in every career, like not to say all there's some crazy realtors too, right? But need some sort of oversight just so that everybody's doing the right thing, I believe.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm glad you brought that up. Okay, great. So now what are your goals for 2022? 2022 is coming up. Are you switching things up a little bit because of what's happened, or what are you going to be focusing on?
I think it's just kind of the team thing is actually a big goal. 2022 must, because granted, partly because of the pandemic has been crazy to organize projects and get reliable, help to work on stuff in terms of contractors, but really solidifying my team from legal to contractors to be able to scale. Ideally, I don't know about 2022, but I would like to kind of be able to buy properties, keep them for myself, or, put a tenant in it. And I don't want to use the term turnkey loosely, but be able to sell people opportunities with tenant-owned properties. And so I need to kind of pull together the resources to be able to do that at scale. But that's definitely something I want to do.
I love that. That's awesome. So what she's saying basically is that she's going to be the person that really offers I guess turnkey property is like there's already a tenant in the property, right? So you'll get out there because she's already looking for all those deals anyway on the MLS. So she's looking for those deals and she's like, ooh, that's a good one. All right, let's go and let's take my investor. Let's partner on this deal. I'll clean this thing up, put a tenant in it, and then we could just sell it or whatever to somebody else. Or rent it out or whatever you want to do. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. You're going to see a lot of that coming up because guess what? We're going into the downturn and everybody right now is like thinking about passive income. That's what they're thinking about. Right. So that's why storage is so huge right now, because they're like, oh, what we invest in now. And so I think a lot of people are going to be, because I remember I got into investing in 2010, like 2010 to 2013. Everybody was talking about turnkey property. Everybody was like, oh, you want to buy turnkey, right? Because we were just coming out of the crisis or whatever. And then for a couple of years, you never heard of turnkey property. People were just like, renovate, let's do it, and then multifamily. And now we're getting back down into the downturn. People are like, okay, now back down into turnkey and buy and holds and stuff. So that'll be interesting to see kind of how you do that. How you put that together, how that goes. I think that's perfect. And that's right in line with where the market is right now. Okay, good. So any other final tips or tricks for anybody that's listening on how to get started or, any kind of wise advice from somebody that's been doing it now for a little while?
Well, as a real estate professional, I would advise newbies to not shy away from building relationships with us. Now, I know that a lot of investors get very frustrated because maybe 80% of the realtors they talk to have no idea or what structure or how an investor thinks. But when you find one that does, they can help you learn the business. They can help you build your team. You can create these win-wins. So you make money together. We are your friends. Like I said, if you find the ones that actually are investors too, and the little money that they get paid in the effort of you, building your empire is definitely worth the weight in gold.
Yeah, I love that too. Yeah, I've been working with my investor now. His name's Richard my realtor for 10 years now. And he's been the very first realtor I worked with, and we've been working together ever since. And every day he gets up and looks for properties for me every day. Right. Because, he understands what we're doing, and he's okay. What I love about him is he's okay with putting in any number offer. I love realtors like that. Now be like, okay, I know it's half of the, we had a storage facility that just came up and it was like $2.2 million. And I was like, just put an offer in for $1 million. And he was like, okay, I'm doing it. I'm putting an offer in for $1 million. So I love realtors that kind of they're okay with, you being an investor, because that's the truth. That's how you have to look at it,
Right. Well, the numbers have to work, right? So
Got to work.
now I would say I want you to listen to me when I show you the data. I'm like, here's the data. Okay. So if you could bring your number based on the data, and especially, the self-storage and a lot of commercials, a different animal, and, how you do pricing. But, with a single family, there's always so much comp. So, but yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Awesome. It was really great meeting you. I'm so glad you're out there doing it. And I love women that are out there, especially helping other investors and teaching them. So is there a way for everybody to get a hold of you just in case they need you? They're in the Philadelphia area or they need to work, they want to talk to you?
Yes. Well, my real estate website is dwoodsrealestate.com. But you can also find me on YouTube, Real Estate Wisdom with Veronica Woods. So I love the education is a big part of what I do. So I'm always putting out videos about the Philadelphia market and also different strategies to be successful as a real estate investor. Okay.
So Real Estate Wisdom with Veronica Woods.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. I love it. That's so good. Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate all your time. And, everybody else, thank you so much for hanging out with us. And make sure you check out RentRedi. RentRedi is the host of this podcast. It is a property management software, which ties in great with what Veronica does. And I'll see you guys at the next session. All right. Thank you.